Good afternoon. Welcome to Off the Cuff with Sheriff Kimbrough. I'm Captain Henry Gray. But since Sheriff Kimbrough isn't here, it's called Rapping with the Captain.
That's right.
So today our guest is Alicia Burr, Deputy with Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, Captain Gray?
I'm great. Please call me Henry.
All right, Henry. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Alicia Burr. I'm originally from Asheboro, North Carolina, which is Randolph County. It's about an hour from here. Grew up there, went to college in Greensboro. Didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went to college. Started as a criminal justice major and just kind of made my way through. I took different classes. I got really interested in the forensics part. And then after that, I figured out that law enforcement was what I wanted to do. Did an internship with Greensboro PD and just kind of went from there.
What made you choose law enforcement? Because it's a mainly male-dominated profession. But what made you choose it?
So whenever I was in high school, I was really big, and I'm saying like 400 pounds big, really big. And everyone always doubted me. This is law enforcement. You can't do that. Oh, you're 400 pounds. You can't run after anybody in law enforcement. And so I really took that to heart. I was an athlete in high school. I'm 6 foot tall, so I just really carried my weight well. I played basketball and tennis and track. And so I started doing all those things. I ended up going to Greensboro College for basketball. And it was really hard for me my freshman year because I couldn't run up and down the court. Obviously, if you've ever seen a high school basketball game compared to a college basketball game, a shot clock comes in college. So you had 30 seconds to get from one end to the other. That's plays, trying to get a shot off, all of that. And it was really difficult for me to run up and down the court because in high school you didn't have that. So you could walk up and down the court as long as you got down there. So when I came to college, it was really hard for me to run up and down the court. So I just, changed my diet. I started working out more, taking me more seriously, and trying to prove everybody wrong. Because if I was going to go into law enforcement, I knew as a freshman, if I was going to do law enforcement through my 4 years, that I couldn't be 400 pounds. I couldn't do the job effectively, efficiently, and do what I needed to do as my safety, as of placing somebody under arrest or running after somebody. It was just very difficult for me. And so at that time, I decided, okay, I'm going to start doing some law enforcement classes. Started my freshman year off. Freshman and sophomore year are just basically your prerequisites. So it's the math, the science, all the stuff that you need to get in. And then your junior and senior year, you really get into like the criminal justice part. So my junior and senior year, I took all the criminal justice classes that I could. Like I said, I was really interested in forensics. And I ended up, you have to have an internship before you could graduate. So I ended up landing an internship with GPD, or Greensboro Police Department. And I was there for about 6 months, where I learned that this is what I want to do. I went on ride-alongs. I did anything throughout the community resource team. So we went out and we worked with the homeless. And that's when I figured out, like, hey, this is really what I want to do. At the time of my internship as a senior, I had got down to about 200 pounds. So I had lost about half of myself, and figured out, hey, this is what I want to do.
That is awesome. When Sheriff Kimbrough came into office, one of his missions wanted the county to reflect, the sheriff's office rather, to reflect the county as far as diversity. How's that been a challenge for you, being a deputy that is a female?
Well, I started my law enforcement career here at Forsyth County back in 2017, just not on the sworn side. I came in as a detention officer, and I worked at the detention center for approximately a year prior to doing something else in law enforcement. And then, so it was a challenge then because majority of the visitors at the detention center are male. And so having a female on the floor with all males, it can be challenging. You just have to learn to talk to people, treat them as equally as you would anybody else. If somebody is walking down the street, you say, hey, how are you doing? It's the same respect that you give them. Hey, how are you doing? I understand that it's hard, you being confined for 23 hours out of the 24 or whatever our schedule was that day. That could be challenging for a lot of people. It could be challenging for me also if I was at home for, the whole time and I wasn't able to go out and do anything. I can understand how their frustrations could build up. I'd come in every day and ask them, hey, how are you doing? What can I do to make your day better? During my 12.25 hour shift, just because, if you give respect, you earn respect. And that's what I've learned here on the streets as well. So I left back in 2018 and I went to High Point Police Department where I was there for a short period of time. I also went through BLET during that time. I was at High Point for a little while, and then I figured out, hey, I want to do something different. So I decided to come to the Sheriff's Office in October of 2019. And it's been an amazing opportunity, an amazing change for me, challenges every day. I love being out here. I love working with the people of Forsyth County. I'm in Zone 1, which is majority of Walkertown, up to Germantown Road, up to 158, which is Reedsville Road. And I've spent majority of my patrol career there. I've only been on patrol, so that's all I ever know here. But I love the people there. I love Forsyth County. Like I said, it's just an amazing opportunity and journey that I've come through. With being a female, there are challenges with anything. So a lot of people are biased about, hey, she's a female deputy. She can't do what males do. That's 100% not true. Like I said, we have to go through the same trainings, same requirements, everything as a male deputy as, female. So it's been 100% a learning game, trying to, do whatever I need to do to be able to efficiently make arrests and talk to people, but I learn as I go, and I'll continue to do that every day.
Well, I can relate to the detention part because when I came to the sheriff's office, I started at the detention center.
Really?
And yes, I did. And it was, you have to learn to talk because you don't have all the weapons and the gadgets. Back then, you didn't have all that, so you had to learn how to talk to people. Your interview skills had to be on point. So I can truly relate. But I heard an interesting story from an individual about one of your stops. And in light of the pandemic and the demonstrators from the Black on Black crimes, Black Lives Matter, how have you conducted your stops? Have you conducted your stops any differently? Or what have you done to make the residents feel at ease?
So I have tried my best to be as consistent as possible when it comes to traffic stops and interacting with the public. It's a little different now because of the pandemic with us having to wear masks. It's a little more difficult to talk to people when you have a mask on, which I totally understand. That's what our governor has said, and that's what we're going to abide by. But I get out of my vehicle. I make eye contact with the driver. I usually do a passenger side approach just because that's what I'm more comfortable with, but there's nothing wrong with a driver side approach. I'm just more comfortable with a passenger side approach. And I explain to the citizen or the driver the reasoning for stop. So if it's something like a tail light or a brake light or something, I will actually ask the individual at the end of my stop to exit their vehicle just so that I can explain to them what's going on, because a lot of these people just don't understand. I could go up and say, hey, your brake light's out or your tail light's out, and they'd say, okay. And they still have no idea what I'm talking about. So I try to take the time and get the individual out just to make them a little bit more comfortable and then show them, hey, this is the reason why I stopped you. This is the reason why you can continue to get stopped in the future if you don't fix this. Like I said, so I will get the individual out of the vehicle, and then I will talk to them at the back of their vehicle and ask them if they would like for me to explain what the reasoning for stop was. If I can show them where the tail light is or the brake light or the license plate light, if I can show them that and show them how to fix that, I also give them a way of fixing that. So I'd say, hey, you can go down to Advance or AutoZone or whatever. If you have an extra bulb, that's fine. Get someone to change it for you, and actually they will change it for you if you don't have the means to do that. So I just try to be consistent and talk to people like I would want to be talked to. because traffic stops are scary for some people, scary for a lot of people. High anxiety, people are nervous, and I understand that. But, I try to do the best I can with my, speaking to them and treating them like I would want to be treated out on a traffic stop.
And I understand that wholeheartedly, because they don't know. It's the unknown, and what they understand is from social media, what's fed into them, or what have you. And I get that. So every approach has to be handled differently because you don't know what you're getting into, but they don't know that. But a question in this environment of male, I don't want to say dominated, but this male profession, have you met any resistance? Have you met any barriers that hinder you because you are a deputy that's female?
That's a loaded question, Captain Gray.
And I did that on purpose.
That is a loaded question.
I did it on purpose. And the reason why I asked that, because, I can stop a person of color and I can approach them one way and I get treated a certain way. But if you approach that same person, you may get treated a different way. But even as a minority or a person of gender, the latter may be a little difficult to get to. Have you seen that in your career, your journey?
For the most part, the citizens of Forsyth County are great to have interactions with. Of course, we have those that, they listen to social media, or they've seen an interaction with a police officer or deputy that has been not the best, and that they've kind of held on to those interactions, which, like I said, I try to do everything consistently. I approach them like I would approach my mom on a traffic stop. So I would want to be respected. I would want to be respectful to who I'm speaking to. I always make eye contact, and I give them the opportunity to ask any questions that they may have in regards to the traffic stop or in regards to anything that they're curious about with law enforcement. Or a lot of times when we go out on traffic stops, they'll ask about like carrying concealed weapons, where they can go to take out like 50 Bs or 50 Cs. They have other questions. And then they just take those opportunities that, obviously that's not a positive opportunity or a positive interaction, getting pulled over by somebody. Most people don't see that as positive, but it can turn out as a positive interaction. And I always give them the opportunity to ask me any questions that they might have in regards to the traffic stop or to something that they're just curious about, or how we do things, or what they can do to get in contact with somebody if they have any problems. A lot of people don't know about our non-emergency number. And I always, explain that to them. If you are stranded on the side of the road and you need somebody to come out here and help you, that's not particularly an emergency. If something is not wrong, if like it's a tire or something like that, I always give them the non-emergency number so that they can call, and, that way we can get dispatched out there just to help them for whatever we can. So I don't particularly like changing tires, but if I have to, I will. I have had to change tires on my own personal patrol car before, so I can do that, and I don't mind helping people that need that assistance.
All right, so now I'm going for the meat and potatoes, right? And in law enforcement, we, you ask the Lord, I just like balance, and it's hard to balance work, and it's hard to balance home or your personal life. Correct. So you are married to a law enforcement officer, correct?
Correct.
All right. And with someone that's not married to a law enforcement officer, so they wouldn't know when you came home and you just quiet, or it's like one of those days. But here you're married to someone that knows your day-to-day activities, and know the citizens, I know the people that you may come in contact, and the risk factors and what could happen. All right. How do you balance that?
It's a difficult task to come by, but I'm very blessed to have a husband in law enforcement that understands me, that understands that, hey, if I come home and I don't want to talk to you, that's not because I don't want to talk to you, I don't love you, I don't care about you. That's because maybe I've seen something on the job that I need to process. And so I've been very blessed to have somebody in my life that has been so supportive, so loving and caring, and also so opposite of me. Anybody that knows my husband and then they know me, it's like night and day. Sometimes on the good perspective, sometimes on the bad perspective. But while I was working at the jail, I had those questions in my mind, like, can I really go out on the streets? Is this something that I really want to do? Is this something that I really want to jeopardize? Is this what I want to do? And if it hadn't have been for him in my corner 100% saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, I think that you're going to regret if you don't do this. Obviously, detention officer is an awesome job, phenomenal job, and I've learned so much while being there. But if it hadn't have been, I don't know that if it hadn't been for him, I would have gone the whole route of being a deputy. I think that I would have been a detention officer for probably a lot longer, just because I lack the confidence of, can I do this? And obviously, anybody that's in this profession, I know for me, I'm scared to fail, because if I fail one time on a risky stop or a domestic with weapons or something that's very risky, very dangerous for us to be out with, that could be the end of my career. That could be the end of my career, my partner's career, anybody else that's out there with me. And Lord forbid it be something, a civilian that I failed at to protect or to, serve. So I do my best with balancing. Obviously, his schedule is different than mine, and I think that works the best. Patrol schedule here, we're on the rotating 2 weeks from days to nights, and you learn that way. You learn calls are different during the day than calls are at night, and you learn just to be well-rounded, and take everything that you can with a grain of salt. Like I said, my biggest thing every day that I abide by is coming home. I want to come home, and I want to make sure that anybody that I encounter gets home safely as well.
Well, I have to ask you this question. It wouldn't be me. Is there any kind of like competition, like, hey, honey, I got this today, or really, I got to this or whatever. I arrested this guy. So is there any like good competition?
Of course there is. I call him a lot of the times for, hey, this is what I've got. What would you do? Or, hey, this is what I got. I heard you didn't get anything today, so I'm already a step ahead of you. We joke a lot of times when it comes to like vehicle pursuits whenever people get away, or if I stop somebody and they have an OFA and he's like, hey, why'd you go down the detention center? Well, I had an OFA. Oh, that's all you got? That's all you got? Okay, so this is what we're doing now. But yeah, we joke all the time. We have a love-hate relationship when it comes to
I get that.
Law enforcement.
I get that.
But he's been a great asset to my law enforcement career, just with helping with different calls. And sometimes when I'm on a call, if I can't get a supervisor, if they're busy or tied up or something, I can call him and say, hey, this is what I've got. And then he'll say, hey, did you think about this? And it's not that this is a different way of doing it. It's just a different perspective. I might not have thought about this, and he's putting that in my head to make sure that I make the best decision that I can out there.
I'll be remiss if I didn't say that I appreciate what you do. I appreciate what you do as a I don't want to say female deputy, so I said deputy that happens to be female, and that's how I always present it. I appreciate what you do, and it takes a lot of courage to prove everybody wrong. And from your story, you train to prove everybody wrong. It's a lot of young girls, young women. I don't want to say older women, but it's people out there that want to take a new career change. There's a lot of young girls that look up to you when they see a deputy that's a female in uniform. Their eyes light up bigger, like, hey, I can do this. What advice could you give that person that, in this crazy world we live in where the normal is not normal anymore? What advice can you give them? Whether it's law enforcement or just following your dream, what advice would you give that young girl with the starry eyes looking at you, asking you, what should I do? What could I do?
I always tell everybody to follow your heart and do what makes you happy. Be happy. Be in a career that you look forward to coming to work every day. I tell my sergeant all the time, I love being at work. I love it here. I love, interacting with people. I love interacting with my platoon. So I am on a platoon of 15, and I have one more female deputy that works on the other side of the county of me. So there's 2 of us. And so if you're thinking about a career change, or you've always wanted to do something in law enforcement, or whatever it may be happy. Make good decisions. Go to school, get your education, because no one can ever take your education away from you. Get your education. Do what you want to do. Follow your heart. Follow your dreams. If you think that law enforcement is not for you, the sworn side of law enforcement. If you think maybe the streets is not what you want to do, absolutely look into the detention center, or probation or parole, because we interact with those people all the time. Our relationship with those people makes our job that much easier, so that we can get things done more effectively. Or, a lot of these people that are out here on the streets have visited the detention center before. And if they're on probation or parole, we can have that relationship with that probation or parole officer and say, hey, this person is XYZ, they're going to be XYZ. That way we, if we need to identify somebody, or for whatever reason, we have those relationships. And that starts out by, being kind to the people at the detention center. They have a job to do as well as we do. I know that a lot of people don't like waiting sometimes at the detention center, because there might be people in front of us. But if you're kind to those detention officers, they'll do whatever they can to get you back as soon as possible. So when it comes to a career in law enforcement for being female, if that's what you want to do, absolutely go with it. Do what you need to do. Get your education. Go to BLET. Show the guys that, hey, I'm a female. I can do everything that you can do.
Outstanding. My last loaded question. What does the future look like for Alicia Burr?
All these loaded questions, Captain Gray. My goodness.
I've got to. I will not get this show again. I got to take advantage of it.
So I love it here. Like I said, I work on Charlie Platoon. My lieutenant's Lieutenant Gilbertson. And I love it. I love it here. I just, plan to educate myself more, do whatever I can. I love patrol. Obviously, there's going to come a time that patrol is not going to be suit for me. I'm going to get older, and so eventually down the line, and then my husband's going to be happy to hear this, we're going to have kids, and patrol might not be the best fit for my schedule, and especially if we're going to continue to do the rotating and 12.25 hours. But I just want to continue to grow here. Whatever opportunities are presented to me, if that's community policing or whatever else, I'll do whatever I can, and I'll take any opportunity that I can to grow and make myself the best me.
From what I know about you and from the conversation that we've had now, the future is real bright for you and it's wide open. And I wish you nothing but the best and blessings to you and your husband.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me and for being here, Captain Gray. You're awesome.
I couldn't hear you. My microphone. What did you say?
Captain Gray, you are awesome. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. And that ends our episode Off the Cuffs. Appreciate you for watching. Rapping with the Captain.